Well, good morning. My name is David Blount, and I am honored to serve part of Hinds County and to live in the state of Jackson, in the capital of our great state, Jackson, Mississippi. And I'm proud to stand here with my friends and to support our Jackson Municipal Airport Authority. What is happening here, as Supervisor Graham said, is a hostile takeover. Yesterday in the Senate, we had a bill dealing with another state commission that got the support of the commission. They got the support of the legislators who represent that area. And there is a double standard at work here. There ought to be cooperation. There ought to be respect for the board that is in place. It is a highly qualified board with a CPA and a PhD, as qualified as any board in the state. There ought to be respect for the members who represent that area. There ought to be cooperation between the counties instead of a one-way street. This airport takeover bill is simply a taking from people who say they care about property rights, who say they care about ownership. Let's work together and make the airport better. Let's work together to get a low-cost carrier. Let's work together to bring more jobs and business to the metro area. And the only way to do that is to get everybody at the table together and have dialogue. And we do not have dialogue with this bill. We have nothing more than a power grab, and we are going to do all we can to oppose it.
Good afternoon. My name is John Horhn, State Senator for District 26. You know, when we had this debate on this bill in the Senate several weeks ago, I likened it to a schoolyard bully coming to the playground, seeing your ball, and decides to take your ball to his house. This is a takeover, nothing short of it. It has everything to do with race. It has everything to do with power and control. This is Jackson's best asset.
That's right.
There is nothing wrong with this operation. There is nothing wrong with the growth that's going on around the airport. In fact, the airport has a 5-year growth plan that is already in place. And yet folks are saying, oh, it's not being run well. We think we can do a better job. Well, the fact of the matter is that is the property of the city of Jackson. When you're out there, you're in the city of Jackson, and nothing about that should change. Now, the House today, I believe, sent a message back to the Senate when they tabled the motion to reconsider the legislation. And now it's coming back over to the Senate. And what we're being told is that there will not be conference invited. We want to get this bill to the governor as quickly as we can. Well, we might lose this battle because our numbers are low. Our hearts are big, but our numbers are low here in this Capitol. They're low in the House. They're low in the Senate. The schoolyard bully's got all the muscle right now. But I'll tell you what, this fight is not over.
That's right.
We're going to fight at the federal level. We're going to fight in federal court. We're going to fight at the federal executive branch, and we're going to win. Right. We're going to win. We are going to win.
Morning. I'm thankful that I'm here and was asked to say a few words. I want to start by saying I started out 56 years ago trying to make Mississippi the kind of state that it could become, it needed to become. Many times we see progress, at other times we see that progress taken away. We've been using a different kind of language, but I remember growing up as a little child when my father and grandfather told me about how a group of men got together and came to black people's house and said, this is our property, you got to get off of it right now. Today we see things that is going on that we call takeovers and all that, but I say what I'm looking at in this situation is not a takeover. It's looked at in my eyesight as an armed robbery. Armed robbery. What do we say to the robbers? You must go to jail for doing this robbery. And I think we should not let the officials who participating in this event of robbing the city of Jackson go free. Put them in jail.
My name is Reginald Buckley. I'm a pastor here in the city of Jackson. I thought that I might come here this morning and see crime scene tape somewhere in these corridors. I thought that perhaps an investigation would be taking place and detectives would be dusting for fingerprints. Thought that maybe the DA would be here to bring charges against those state lawmakers responsible for the attempted robbery of the Jackson Evers International Airport. I thought these things because what is taking place at this state house is criminal. If it took place anywhere else, then within the confines of this palace of power, arrests would be made. In gang-like fashion, lawmakers armed with pens dipped in the blood of Jacksonians and emboldened by a supermajority that conducts state business with the sins of pride and arrogance, these lawmakers have determined to write legislation to make this crime legal. And this crime will result into generations of wealth being diverted to zip codes outside of Jackson. This crime will result in resources that could help buoy education going to resource-rich school districts in Madison and Rankin. This crime will result in further exploiting tenuous race relations and expanding the ever-widening income gap. It's a sad day in Mississippi when the state plays schoolyard bully with the capital city and takes its lunch money. It's a sad day when the state plays the henchman on behalf of neighboring counties and cities, wrestling for the rights to that which belongs to Jackson. It's a sad day when the capital can't trust its own state to be an ally. And speaking of state and city politics, how ironic that a state that will fight to the death for states' rights and resisting the reach of federal government into state affairs now is guilty of reaching its arms into the affairs of a governing municipality. Oh, the irony of a state that doesn't want the federal interference with state business now interferes with the potential business development and future revenues of Jackson for generations to come. It's unjust and it's immoral. And as a Jacksonian, as a Mississippian, as a pastor, I'm offended. I'm offended at the audacity of elected officials to engage in this kind of crime against the citizens of Jackson. I'm offended that fellow Mississippians can in good conscience proceed with these bullying tactics. I'm offended that fellow Christians can compartmentalize faith from politics long enough to vote for something that at its core is unchristian. I'm wrapping up here. I'm a Baptist preacher. But I walked the grounds of the Capitol on Monday. It was a cool spring morning, not a cloud in the sky. I expected to smell the spring blossoms of gardenia, but the fragrance of spring was overshadowed by the odor of injustice coming from this Capitol. As the Confederate-themed state flag waved in the spring air, the stench of moral decay and ethical degeneration wafted across these grounds. I almost wept, as Jesus wept when he felt Mary and Martha's grief over the death of Lazarus. They too were concerned about the odor at the tomb, but Jesus insisted, "Take me where you laid him." So that gives me confidence. And Mississippi is not too far gone for the power of God to resurrect her and return her to a path of life. Yes, Christians around this state celebrated Easter on Sunday. We lifted up hymns of victory as we celebrated a risen Savior. But the same book that contains the story of his resurrection contains the commandment, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's property. It is the same book that commands us, thou shalt not steal. It is the same book that says, love thy neighbor as thyself. And so, though offended, I can leave here today encouraged, because the book says, God is not mocked. Whatsoever man soweth, that he shall also reap.
And so, what can you do? Contact your representatives, your senators. More importantly, contact the governor, the lieutenant governor, and the Speaker of the House. We have flyers that we are passing out. We are giving numbers. If you need them, you don't have it, we are around. We will get them for you. So let's do that. Do not leave here just with the word. Let's have the words that we have received compel us to act. We gotta act, and we gotta act now. Thank you very much for coming.